worked real hard. We talked to a lot of counties, county chairs. We ended up by the end of December 2017 getting enough counties, 18 at the time, to say we now have to declare independence. It's our duty, it's our responsibility to declare independence for this great nation and this great state in order to save the state. Our mission was not to create another state in competition with California or Jefferson or any of the other states. Our mission was to save the union with the statehood process by following the Constitution that the Founding Fathers gave us. Why? Because the state itself had run amok. It had sunk into communism. You cannot tell me these people inside are not communists. The way they pass legislation, this is communism, folks. I talk to my Vietnam veterans and people in Vietnam. I know Vietnamese people. And they go, Paul, it's turning into Vietnam. You can have an election, no big deal. Nothing to see here, move along. But don't say anything in public or get on social media because they will knock at your door and take you away. Or they'll steal your children, which is happening in this state. One of the things, the products you get from a democracy, child sex trafficking. This state, these folks, head the nation in child sex trafficking, yet they have done nothing about it. Nothing. In fact, many bills have been written by the folks inside to do what? Promote pedophilia. NAMBLA, North American Man-Boy Love Association. Those folks are in here writing legislation to genitally mutilate your children. That's what we have inside. This will not happen any longer. As of today, the Declaration of Independence for Restored California will put back in play the Constitution of 1850, by which this state, California, has a compact agreement, an everlasting agreement that all 50 states have, which we seek. God has said, God has bestowed that agreement between California and its 1850 Republican in form Constitution and the United States of America. As of today, after this reading, there's many things moving. Things are moving really fast, and I know you know that. We see that. We just turn on the TV. Well, turn on the phone. It's all we need to do to see what's going on. We are going to change the world. And it won't be just New California. There's other states. New Nevada. New Illinois. Wait for it. New Hawaii. New Oregon. New Washington. There will not be any divorce, any breach of the compacts between California and the United States. There will not be a separation. There will not be any secessionist movement as they've planned for 2018. That's the plan. Today we stopped that. It is stopped. We've incorporated again the compact. We are guided by federal rules. And let me tell you how it works. When you have a state that is not complying with the federal government, the executive branch has to act. That's their job. And trust me, the executive branch is here They're out here watching because I was given the heads up. They're in there looking, and they're there looking, and they're there looking, and they're over there looking right now as we speak. I'm sorry, where's the governor's place now? The brand new $2 billion, I'm sorry, is it $4 billion? 25 billion, is it 25? Let's have an auction right now. Can I hear 2 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, 3 billion? Do we even know? No, we do not. Why? Because they're covering it up. When you have this type of governance, you have a tyranny. And that's what we recognized in 2017, because we read the Declaration of Independence of 1776. But I'd like to introduce right now Sarah Matson. She's the chair of Sacramento County. And she makes my favorite meal.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Simone, for not letting me hear that introduction. When Governor Preston called me this morning, I'm up with the chickens, literally. And so he knew I'd be awake. And when he asked me to impromptu speak today, I was at first I'm honored, but I was like, what do I speak about? And it took me 30 seconds to remember, why am I such a patriot? Why do I love the Constitution? Why do I care? Why the Holy Spirit stirs in you when you know something's not right? And that's what happened to me in 2020. I knew something was not right. And I started to grasp why, what's going on. And I started to realize and I started to learn about our Constitution. And I am so honored to be able to share with you my beginnings that really could start with my father. My father, when you're a kid, your dad tells you, I walked 3,000 miles for you guys. He was 17 years old. He came from the little town of Michoacan, Huetamo, Michoacan in Mexico. And he came and walked his way, who knows, probably, thumbed his way too, to get to Los Angeles, where he met my mom. And they got married and they had a family. They had a family of 6. I was the first girl after 4 boys, so I'm the oldest girl. But it was fascinating. I'm now a college professor, and I realized my dad, I was remembering what caused my life to be such concerned and aware of what our Constitution is, being a patriot. What does that mean? And I realized my father was my first student. I was 8 years old, and I was a really good student. So I would sit with him, and I would help him with English as he was practicing for his citizenship. And his story is not unique. There are 1 million people in this country who came to this country to get a better life and to follow the American dream. And I'll never forget the day when he went in and he took the pledge, he took the oath, and he became a citizen. And the biggest thrill for my father was his first bona fide ability to vote in an election. He put on a suit and tie, and my mother dressed to the hilt as well. And they went off and voted. And, probably by that time I was maybe 9 or 10 years old. And that's what I grew up with. The greatest American I ever knew was my father. And he taught me, it does kind of break me up a little bit when I think about that, but I'm so glad I remembered this. This is what affects all of us and affects your life when you know somebody that this is a specific story that affected your life. So share it. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to share. I'm definitely the culture of my Hispanic upbringing, a Mexican American, is definitely deep rooted. And this is, the joke I have with Governor Preston. Someday I'm going to make him tacos de lengua, because one time I was sharing with him my mom's famous recipe. She made the most wonderful taco de lengua. So one day I'll do it. I keep saying I'm going to do it when we become a state. little carrot there, right? But I have to tell you, it's such an honor to be able to share with you what it means, our freedoms, our Constitution, the Lord blessed this country, and amen. And we have to let the world know, and at least these fellow Californians, right? Wake up. This tyrannical government that we're in is going to be resolved today. What an honor. I feel so honored to be here. As in 1836, the Californios declared their independence. We're going to reclaim our true and only organic Constitution of California from 1850, when we became the 31st state. So I'll tell you, I'm honored that, and I'm looking forward to the day that New California will be the 51st state. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much for that. And yes, tacos de lengua. Okay, so let's get on with the program and some of the things you're probably going to find out you don't know, and it's going to be kind of interesting. But the biggest revelation I had about what the problem was facing in the state, because I was an educator for 41 years, I saw this march coming over the years. Really saw it in the 80s and 90s, and it was very convincing to me what was happening. And it wasn't just this state; it was the proxies outside the state, the communist Chinese, other influencers out there, even the Nazis, because they're here. They have quite a legacy here. And that's something we have to overcome. But it hit me, I just said in the 90s and the 2000s, I said, we've got to do something to stop the train. What is it? What can we do? And the only thing I could think of is change the government. I mean, if something's failing, you got to do a change, right? If your software and your computer is failing, you got to get new software or get a new computer, right? So I said to myself, how do we do something like that? So I turned to the Declaration of Independence. That was the only thing I could think of. Prayed about it a lot. By the mid-2005 and 6, I said, there's something in that document I don't really understand that was inspiring me to move on and say, God, this word means this and this. Pretty soon the words started to sink in, and I realized they were biblically based. I'd read these in the Bible. Leviticus comes to mind. Deuteronomy. So I said, wait a minute. Am I having another come to Jesus moment? And I did. It was almost like my second accepting of Christ in my life, which started in 1970. And I said, this could be it. So I started studying more about the Constitution. Just so happened I had 3 college professors that were constitutional professors, which at the time I didn't realize that. Most of your attorneys don't even take a constitutional class, if you know what I mean. So what that means to me, can we have you sit down? Please sit down. Thank you. What that means to me was I was a little bit more informed about the Constitution than a lot of other people, but it was with me in my life and all of my daily activities. And then all of a sudden I started realizing Article 4, Section 3 of the Constitution says you could make a new state. And I said, let's bail on California. So by 2010, 11, I started hearing about people thinking the same thing. I heard a guy by the name of Tim Draper in 2010 wanted to start 12 states out of California. I said, that's really ambitious. So I called him up, had him on my radio show. And I said, okay, so how's that going to work for you? well, all I'm going to do is hire my lobbyists. They're going to come down to Sacramento. They're going to hammer it out, and we'll make a state. I said, well, where's the U.S. Constitution fit? I don't need no stinking Constitution. That's the answer I got. So $12 million, no, it's $20 million later, he fails on the 12-state idea. We come along, and we're meeting in Williams. We're getting all sorts of notoriety about the Declaration of Independence that's coming, and he takes out a petition to go to a 3-state solution. Right. Another $20 million sunk. And as it turned out, when Fox News contacted us after we read our first declaration, when we read our Declaration of Independence, they said, well, as Tim Draper, all of a sudden he's got like all the signatures he needs. It was only like 2 weeks after we just said our thing. That's okay. We had 3 million hits on our website in two or 3 days. So he got his signatures, and they said, what do you think of this? I said, it's dead. It's a dead story. It's dead on arrival. So several months later, that building over there decides it is dead on arrival, and he never gets it to a vote. They toss it because it's unconstitutional. It does not follow Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, Section 3 and 4 of the Constitution. So they call me back and they say, what about this? And I said, what about what? Well, he got thrown out. I said, yes, he did. The Supreme Court said no, 6-0 decision. Why? Because he didn't follow the Constitution. I said, I was all wrong about that. And they said, no, you were right. You said it was dead on arrival. No. It was dead on the scene. He had not done his homework, so how could he arrive? And therein lies the story. How do you make a state, and what do? You follow the Constitution, which he had not done. Over 220 attempts have been made. None of them followed the Constitution appropriately, except one, semi-appropriate. Now we have another one that's competing with us. Good luck. But I'm going to tell you the story of our Declaration of Independence as we wrote it, because we were a bunch of smarty pants. We had 3 attorneys with us. We had Russ Wailuda with us. There's Russ. There's Russ. You remember this story. So there's about 20 of us in a room gathered a couple weeks, taking about a couple weeks, saying, well, what are we going to do about this Declaration of Independence, and how do you write it? What do you do? What do you do? Well, we were so smart, we didn't even look up the original Declaration of Independence in 1776 to tell the story. That's how smart we were, right? How arrogant we were. How ignorant we were about the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and everything that goes along with it. You have 3 attorneys. They're all looking around like, what's this all about? Well, and there were pretty bright people, intelligent people in that room. But we missed the mark. So after a couple weeks of this, I bring in a Declaration of Independence of 1776. Let me read some of it to you. In Congress, July 4, 1776. This is what we celebrate for 250 years. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. To the separation. We have cause. We're compelled. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to ensure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. From the consent of the governed. from the consent of the governed. Don't get me going. I think I am. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator, I'm reading again, with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying the foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light or transient reasons. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same objective evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. Systems of government. They're not saying they're being run by a constitution here, and neither am I. It's obvious they're not being run by a constitution. No one is governing these people. The history of the present king of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. Then they go on and it says, to prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. There are a list of grievances, reasons why. Let me back up here so you can kind of get what happened at our meeting. So I'm reading this in the meeting. I look at everybody's faces, including Russ's, and their mouths are wide open and their eyes are like that, kind of like yours today. These words have meaning. They have significance. They reach around the world, touch every human on this planet. That's how significant these are. So being the joker that I am, I decided I'll do it a little differently. And I say that this part of it says, but when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right and their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been, now hang on here, the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present governor, Jerry Brown, in a history of repeated use. Oh, did I say that?
You did.
Right away, they got it. Has anything changed? These words are endless. They were spoken in 1776, re-spoken again on January 15th, 2018. We didn't alter much. We looked around with our PhDs and our master's degrees and our teaching credentials, and we said, how can you top that? How can you? Because nothing has changed, has it? We are here now in this space, right next to and looking at the totalitarians who inside that building are planning your demise. We are going to put a stop to it, please. Everybody is. And that stop starts today. What I'd like to do right now is the Declaration of Independence, and we'll show after we hear this, I'll give you a little bit more of a lesson to be learned. This Declaration of Independence was 1776. It was heard in the New World, all of Central America and South America. And pretty soon countries started to pop up that were Republican in form, all in the New World. And now every country in the Western Hemisphere is a republic guided by this Declaration of Independence from 1776. And boy, does the left not like it. Do you see what they're fighting against? Do you see what we're fighting against? I'd like to introduce Simone Anderson with the 1836 Declaration.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see everybody. Thank you for getting used to the heat and coming out to support us today. So I'm going to read the Declaration of Independence of California from November 3rd, 1836. The most excellent deputation of Upper California unto its inhabitants. Californians, heaven favors us. Undoubtedly, you are its select few, and this is why you are guided by propitiously to happiness. You might have been until now the unfortunate beings of civil fractions, whose leaders, satisfied with passing triumph, pressed you to the limit of your docility and your sufferings. You swore solemnly before God and man to free or to perish rather than to be slaves. Thereby you adopted forever the federal constitution of 1824 as the only social and governing pact that you were to obey. Your government was organized at the expense of many sacrifice that unnaturalized sons found convenient to amass their fortunes and to develop their criminal enterprises. So that when it seemed that you were a certain patrimony for those tyrant aristocrats, you waved the banner of free men and said, "Federation or death is California's fate." Thus you have exclaimed, and this is so patriotic a cry will forever be firmly engraved in our hearts, where the eternal and sacred flame of love and country burns. You have tasted the sweet nectar of liberty, and you will not share it with impunity with the bitter cup of oppression. California is free, and it will cut off all relations with Mexico until the mother country cease being oppressed by the present ruling faction known as the central government. In order to accomplish such a grandiose and interesting purpose, all the inhabitants of this ground must unite and form one single party and one single mind. Be unanimous, Californians, and only you proceeding in this manner can we prove to the world that we are firm in our convictions and that we are federalists and free men, that we prefer death over slavery. And this was signed by Jose Castro, Juan Batista, Alvarado Antonio Bolena, and Jose Antonio Noriega. And those were the words from 1836. Thank you.
So 1836, California stood as a state, an autonomous state. And there's historians that don't want you to know that, and they're all in there. But they're outed now. They're outed now because of New California. We outed them. We embarrassed them with the Alvarado flag with the big red star on it, which embellishes our flag. It's an identical picture of it. So that period from 1836 was a big one in Mexico, Texas, and California. Because in March of 1836, Texas declares independence from Mexico to join the United States of America. It was a busy time. But what was happening was it was spreading. The Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, it was spreading throughout the colonized world. Men like Alvarado, Castro, Ortiz stood up as Californios and said, no more centralized tyranny for us. We took the name Nuevo California, New California, to be our own. From that, the star in our name. We existed until 1848 in that condition. But between 1848 and 1850, gold was discovered, wasn't it? And they rushed in a constitution because all the people coming in, they say, we're going to stake this ground out and call it our state. They did not issue a Declaration of Independence. They thought maybe that Alvarado thing was good enough. I thought that was good enough, but they didn't do it. And they should have. That's why we're here today, to issue that Declaration of Independence. But first, you got this New California thing. And you also have an interruption that goes on. Because when California becomes a state in 1850, it's got a constitution. It says it's Republican in its form. It's following Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, that there will not be any problems with invasions. We'll be free from invasion and free from domestic violence, and guaranteed a Republican form of government. Now, I ask you, do we have any of those privileges today? Freedoms, rights? No, we do not. They're all taken away. And you see how quick they make them go away. Governor calls up, give me a law. Let me sign it this afternoon. No problem. We'll gut and amend anything and we'll get it to you. What do you think of that? Not acceptable. So along comes enticement in 1879. Can you hand me that big board right there? Yeah, if you could. 1879, California decides to come up with a governance document, not a constitution. They call it a constitution, but it's a governance document called a corporation. We're doing business as since 1879. This was the warning by the political magazine called Puck to all the nation. This picture appeared on circulars all around the nation at the time this was happening. And what are they warning Californians about? Centralized government, communism. That's what they're warning them about. They wrote an article, several articles, lambasting California because it was now going to a corporate situation. It had taken a knee to the City of London and the Vatican. And no longer were we supposed to be able to control our futures. That's where that comes from. Isn't that an interesting picture? Today, that changes. That changes. That corporation that they're governing themselves by and have been is over. O-V-E-R. It will soon disappear. Why? Because we have an executive that will make it so. Because we are in those days and in those times. What were the final words in one of the articles that they wrote, Puck, about California? Enjoy your bankruptcy. The final two words in the paragraph that they wrote about it. Enjoy your bankruptcy. Along comes New California, 2018. I'm going to turn it over to Liz Ritchie. We did some things that were important to form the new state. We studied a lot about what was going on in West Virginia in 1861. we said, wait a minute, there's a confederacy here in this building. Let's go to Plan B, which was Virginia, West Virginia model. And it's working just fine for us to become the 51st state. Liz.
Thank you, Paul. And are we able to hear me okay? Okay. I am going to be reading first the affirmation of allegiance to the United States of America and justification for the formation of the state of New California. This was announced on January the 15th of 2018. With faith and diligence and our sacred honor, we do hereby declare our unity with natural law and the United States Constitution. We stand firm in our pledge to maintain and support freedoms of the people of our nation and New California at all times, at home and abroad, with God as our witness, honoring the foundational principles. We take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of invasion, to stand together as free citizens of New California, to be sovereign state of that nation which we hold dear, the United States of America. As we seek to remain a member of our union, in order to form a more perfect union, we resolve to create the free, sovereign, and independent state of New California. Due to the past and current government of California having failed in their oath of office, obligations, and responsibilities as representatives of we, the people, to provide a Republican form of government as guaranteed by Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution. The second document I'm going to read is the New California Declaration of Independence, which was declared on January the 15th of 2018, ending with 3 million, was it? 3 million hits of views of this one day later. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them to another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, they should declare the causes which cause them to separate. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such design that it is most likely to affect their safety and their happiness. Governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience has shown mankind to be more disposed to suffer when evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they grow accustomed. However, when a long train of abuses and acts to seize and hold the people's power without legal authority and pursuing invariably the same object that clearly demonstrates a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their duty to throw off such government and to establish for themselves, a new guard for their future security. The history of the present governor and government of California is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having a direct object, the establishment of a tyranny over the counties of New California and the state of California. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to seek a constitutional remedy
to the abuse of powers. We, the people of the counties of New California, solemnly publish and declare these counties are, and of right ought to be, a free and independent state, that we strive to be free from the state of California, and that as a free and independent state, have full power to establish and maintain law and order, to promote general prosperity, and to do all other acts and things which an independent New California state may rightfully do. We therefore, the representatives of the counties of New California, appeal to the California legislature and the federal Congress to pass resolutions to create the state of New California. And for the support of this declaration, and with firm reliance on the protection of the divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. So help me God. Thank you.
Since that declaration, New California has read into the records over 190 weeks, 190 grievances. Took us several years to do that, but we did it. We've been down here 30 times since then. We've had 13 constitutional conventions over the last 8 years. We built and established and approved just this last Saturday with our delegates the Constitution that we are submitting to Congress. It is a Constitution that guarantees to you a Republican form of government. It guarantees to you freedom from invasion. It guarantees to you freedom from domestic violence. Not only have we done that, but we did what West Virginia did. They set up a reorganized Virginia government because their government had left them to join a confederacy. This government has left this to join an ideology that's repugnant to this republic and to the world. It is evil. And evil will not stand in this great state of California and this great state of New California. Therefore, we declared our separation then. We reorganized the California state, and we had 2 constitutional conventions. We readopted technically the Constitution of 1850. We had 5 more constitutional conventions with reorganized, finally to the restored California. In that last one, we finally adopted the Constitution, signed, sealed, and delivered for you, for everybody in California. Reorganized California is back. California is back. They're out. They are out. With that, I'm going to introduce Tina Song. She has a few words for us.
Oh, when I hear the words Declaration of Independence, my mind pictures the painting of the Founding Fathers gathered around that table at the Second Continental Congress in Philadelphia. On June 11, 1776, the work began. The Committee of Five worked hard for 17 days. The leader and main author was Thomas Jefferson, along with John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Roger Sherman, and Robert R. Livingston. These men wrote the words of the Revolution, of the change that the colonists longed to hear. And at the Pennsylvania State House, on July 4th, 1776, Congress adopted this document that changed the world. Ezra Taft Benson said, "The Declaration of Independence to which these great men affix their signatures is much more than a political document. It constitutes a spiritual manifesto dash revelation, if you are willing, declaring not only for this country, but for all nations, the source of man's rights. The words in the founding documents were very complex to a young girl in 8th grade history. My attention was directed at flirting with boys instead of memorizing the preamble of the Declaration in order to pass my history class. Mr. McLaughlin, you were a wonderful history teacher, and I was a preoccupied teenager. I would want you to know that now this grown woman understands and lives by the words of our founding documents. They are endlessly in my thoughts and burn deep within my soul. These words are the lifebloods of Americans, so important that they need to be repeated frequently. And they have been twice already, so do you guys want to hear it for a third time? Yes. All right. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect the safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate what governments long established should not be changed for light or transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former system of government. This history of the present king and Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. Mr. McLaughlin, I understand now. The words burn in my heart and my mind and my soul. I think that I finally deserve to pass your class. Daily, I fight for these words with an incredible group of new Californians who are gathered here today to stand again for independence. We are in a modern day fight for independence from tyranny and stand firm together, pledging our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor. One has paid the ultimate price, and in honor of him, I say, let freedom ring from Glass Beach in Mendocino County. Let freedom ring from the beautiful trails of Yosemite National Park. Let freedom ring from the Golden Gate Bridge of San Francisco. Let freedom ring from the cliffs and the ocean lookouts of Big Sur and the Pacific Coast Highway. Let freedom ring from the Sutter Buttes mountain range. Let freedom ring from the giant redwoods in the Sequoia National Park. Let freedom ring from the crystal blue, cool waters of Lake Tahoe. Let freedom ring. Today, we pray the understanding and importance of the words in the Declaration of Independence ring freedom across this state and across the United States of America. On the 250th anniversary of the birth of this nation, may these words come to life and burn within the hearts and minds and souls of Americans. May we all, with ears to hear and eyes to see, understand that God gave us the right to be free people. Hallelujah. He gave us that right. And why did he give it to us? So that we can be free to serve him. To serve him. And not a king or a kingdom of this world. No limeys, no lobster backs. Giddy up, New California. God bless you. God bless the New California state. God bless restored California. And God bless the United States of many. Of Benny, the United States of America. This was for Benny.
Giddy up. Giddy up. Next up, and I want to thank Liz Ritchie for her presentation of the New California State Declaration of Independence. She is the Secretary of State for New California State. Next up, Gretchen Ricker. She is the Secretary of State for Restored California. She's going to bring to you the Declaration of Independence for California Restored. Remember that sign I had up here? This is the moment of divorce from a corporation. This is it. If you're a cellular biologist like I was inclined to be, it's mitotic division. Or if you're an oncologist and you want to get rid of the cancer, you're zapping. Gretchen Ricker.
Restored Government of California, affirmation of allegiance to the United States of America. With faith, diligence, and our sacred honor, we do hereby declare our unity with the Constitution of the United States of America. We stand firm in our pledge to maintain and support the freedoms of the people of our nation in restored California at all times, at home and abroad. With God as our witness, honoring the foundational principles, we take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. We stand together as free citizens of restored California, a sovereign state of that nation which we hold dear, the United States of America. We are determined to remain a compact member of our union. In order to form a more perfect union, we resolve to restore the free, sovereign, and independent California state. The past and current illegitimate government of California has failed in its obligations and responsibilities as representatives of we the people. To provide for a Republican form of government as guaranteed by Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution. The Declaration of Independence from the 1879 California Constitution by the restored Government of California. Quote, "Time cannot render valid an act void in its origin." Maxim of law. The delegation of restored California to the inhabitants hereby affirm the 1849 Constitution of California as the official Constitution of California. When any form or organization of government provides inadequate or subversive The Bill of Rights of California, ratified in 1850, states we have the right to alter or reform it when the public good requires it. In the 190 years since the framers of California declared independence from Mexico, traitors among us have usurped our constitutionally guaranteed republic and replaced it with a democracy governed by corporate bylaws as if it were a constitution. In addition, these bylaws were never presented to nor ratified by the people of California or the Congress of the United States as required by the 1849 California Constitution. This illegitimate state government's flagrant corruption, thievery, subversion, fraud, insurrection, sedition, crimes against humanity, communism, tyranny have deprived us of our God-given constitutionally secured rights, amongst them our unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The abuses and usurpations of this government have placed Californians under absolute despotism, and it is our right, it is our duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for our future security. No longer will we be docile and suffering at the hands of traitors. We would rather perish than be slaves to a tyrannical government. Any sentiment would be un-American. Any other sentiment would be un-American. We will once again taste the sweet nectar of liberty, and the sacred flame of love of country will burn brighter than ever. Restored California is free and hereby reclaims all authority over California state and her compact constitution of 1849. That one was, ooh. We, therefore, the delegates of the restored government of California, and by the authority of the good people of California, solemnly publish and declare that this state is absolved from all allegiance to the 1879 state of California unratified corporate constitution, and that all political connection between them and the restored government of California is, and ought to be, totally dissolved, and that as a free and independent state, we have full power to do all other acts and duties which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Very good. Bravo. Bravo. Well, we have a lot of things going on, and this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. For some, it's the beginning of the end, and that's a good thing. But for all of us that love liberty and love this country and love these states, the future is ours. The future is now. We will go forward as God guides us, as liberty-loving Americans. I want to thank you for being here. We have a number of things, sort of the special announcement time. We're going to be up in Calaveras County with all the frogs where they leap. 12 noon, Angels Camp, Utica Mine. Be there. That's going to be this Sunday, 28th. Lunch is when? Oh, lunch is served. Oh, that's lunch. Is lunch served? Lunch is served. I'll be there. We will be there, and we'll be celebrating what we're doing today, and also some other things that will come down from the news that you're going to be hearing about. But first, we must stop the machines. So, in this last election, certain people didn't get it. They're about to get it. We'll be in Shasta County, new California legislature, having a legislative hearing. Now, mind you, we're kind of used to legislative hearings in New California because our legislature is pretty active, actually. They know what to do, when to do, and how to do it. There's conflicts, yes, but that's the way it is. But you know, our legislature took the time over the last 6 years, 7 years, to conduct 75 field hearings all across this state. These guys did nothing. They ignored COVID. They ignored the businesses. People went bankrupt. Forced masks 6 feet apart. Schools were ruined. Kids lost 2, 3, 4 years of education. And we got genital mutilation all wrapped up in that. And what they do, they made more oppressive laws. Their tyranny increased. Today it stops. So we are now going to go to, I like this one, the 76th official legislative hearing in Shasta County at the Red Line, 4 o'clock on Wednesday, July 1st. If you're up there or you want to see it on TV, we will be broadcasting it. And we're going to do exactly as we did in our other 75 hearings. We're going to allow, are you ready for this? We're going to allow John Q. Public, the citizens of Shasta County, the citizens of California, the citizens of the United States of America, to come up and comment with an open mic. What is your concern? Tell us, please, what we can do in New California to affect change, to get legitimate elections again, to stop the fraud. Did you ever think that these guys would be honest about elections when we can't even find a place in any of the infrastructure, any of these departments, any place where there's not fraud? Billions, trillions of fraud right here. All sponsored by this group, sidling up to the cartels, to the communists, City of London, to Rome, to exploit and ruin this great state. And not one hearing out of their legislator. Is there any wonder why it's a tyranny? So we have scheduled 9 more around the state. This is just number 1, the 76th one. And we'll be down in Southern California next. We'll set up a hearings, and we'll allow people to speak. We'll allow people to exercise that First Amendment right. The second element of the First Amendment is freedom of speech. And you can bet we're going to exercise the very first element, and that is pray. Freedom of religion. Then we'll invite the press. How about that one? The third one. Not only that, we'll peaceably assemble. We won't have riots or Antifa there. We'll have security, of course. And then we will redress our grievances. That is the lesson plan. That is the plan we have. That's our agenda right there. And we're going to ask the people to speak. Finally, there will be a voice. The people will be heard. Unlike these people which just passed legislation to try and stop us here today. How's that working out for them? It's not, and it won't. It won't. I want to thank you all very much for being here. It's been an honor to be here on these steps with all of you. I want to thank the Capitol Highway Patrol and Police, the horses who always show up. Yay for the horses. The Highway Patrol, he's over there. We see you. These guys have been absolutely outstanding. I got to tell you, I know a lot of people in this building, and they're fantastic people. They deserve better than what's going on. They deserve a lot better. And all the people, all the employees of the state of California deserve a lot better. They need to have freedom in the workplace. They need to not be tyrannized. And yes, if they want to talk about New California in that building, come on, everybody, let them talk about it. Do you know that they're restricted? They can't talk about this movement there. That's Nazi Germany, folks. That's not supposed to be the way it is. These people are, by God, supposed to protect us from all that. Yet they bring it on. Anyway, thank you very much for being here. It's been a very special day. God bless America, and God bless New California, and God bless restored California. Thank you. Now it's time for the picture. Everybody up in the picture. Stand on the stairs, yeah. Stand on the stairs.
And I have your computers on because it was on the side. You were gone and I said.
Julie, come.